participation of the PPN network is really a good thing. The incentives went away for a little while because they got over committed, I guess, for the money, but now they're back, and hopefully they'll stay back and stay consistent, so that we can plan. It's you know, if you know it's there, and you just follow the little trail of how to process. It's a real neat thing for the client.
If you're going to run out of money, I'd rather them put a cap in there. If you've got a small amount of money and you're going to run out of money, I'd rather them put some kind of, even if the cap is high.
Right.
Well, last year they cut the program at there was no money distributed unless you were already in the queue.
Okay.
And so it was hard to get, in order to get in the queue, you have to have a pre-inspection and submit your plans. And if you weren't in the queue, and when they cut it off, and they cut it off in April, I think, and I had a very, very big project going on, and we just made it by the skin of our teeth, but it was like, this project was a $2 million reduction, $2 million KWH reduction, which turned out to be a $200,000 incentive. And we were just like a week away from not getting that. This company had already said yes, and it was a big project. So I think, and then for that span of time from April to January, then they announced they were coming back in the game, and they got refunded more funding. But I think that part was a little scary. But then they want you to say, well, how many projects did you do in this period? For me, it was a dry spell because I didn't want to, introduce this and do a project and not get the incentive when the incentive, door might open again. So we waited until the incentives came back.
Well, it's beneficial to the customer.
Yeah.
I'll say this: when they ran out of money and closed down, and I was spending half my time showing people, explaining to people to buy, because the cost of waiting was more than waiting 3 years on a $15,000 rebate. So kind of getting the stability of this program is kind of important, I think, because if it's going to come and go and come and go, I'd almost rather it just go, because I don't want people waiting for 18 months to see if the program's going to come back.
Right.
Especially when we can pull 3, 4, 5. I mean, when you start hitting $6,000 or $7,000 a month in savings, you're pulling out of a building, it's $1 million in 10 years, and you've got a guy waiting for a year to get a $30,000 rebate when in fact you're going to pull $300,000 or $400,000 worth of savings out of the guy's building. So it became a negative for me during that big waiting period, to where I'd wished that at that point, there came a point where I wish they'd just come in and say, we're not coming back.
I mean, I can't go and tell a client that he's going to get something that he's not, and that would be that would damage the relationship.
And we got the entire package put together and worked up, and then got the red light from TVA in that program had funded out for that year, and it looked like a good plan. The building owner was ready to go, but TVA's funding had been exhausted for the year and never pursued it any further. If they got the rebate, they would have gutted it and gone back with new lighting. As it was, they just repaired what was out and stayed with what they had. So we wound up doing $5,000 worth of lighting repair instead of $60,000 worth of complete change out.
Plus, the uncertainty of how long the money's going to be around. I messed up a couple years ago and was pitching that, we can get you these rebates, and then the money dries up and they shut it down for like a year and a half.
And I think part of it is, the funding runs out, and that's similar with their solar programs. I mean, their rebates were too high. Everyone applied for them, and then they were gone within the first quarter. So, you know, small businesses can't deal with those sort of fluctuations of not having work for the second half of the year if they're local. So you either diversify and you add new areas of efficiency, or you go from solar to efficiency, or you diversify your geographical area. But if your product is at all dependent on the rebates, then you do not have any kind of sustainable business model. And
Yeah,
the same
the
thing you're saying.
sustainability is not sustainable.
Yeah.
It does.
To the
Well, and
end
it's made
user.
us look bad a couple times because we didn't stay up to date on
And that's the
if
other
there
thing.
was money,
Right.
or the fact that we misunderstood the number of, someone had told us, oh, it's a certain number of cents per kilowatt hour, and that was for interior, not exterior, and we pitched it with the wrong rebate amount, and now I used to sometimes include it in the financial calculations and say, here's your IRR or whatever, and now I always do it as a separate line item, as more of a, you may get this money back because the money may not be on the table by the time you go through with the project. So I think in terms of like wanting to over deliver and not over promise,
Right.
I don't think most PPN members are probably not putting it into their calculations. It's almost like, in some ways, if the funding is going to run out so quickly, lower the incentives by a little bit so that it's not just such a mad dash, and then they'll last longer. So, I mean, you're giving more people access to the funds, but maybe at a slightly lower rate.
And the other thing that is very, where folks would get nervous about it is, a lot of times you can't say this is exactly the amount you're going to get back, right? So you say, hey, this is an estimate, this is what we put in. Oh, okay, so some of these savvy customers are going to say, okay, so here's the price, here's the rebate you're estimating. So we'll pay, our contract will be the net of that, and you get the rebate, and all the risk is on you. It's very tough for a contractor because there's a lot of variables there that could happen. Money availability is one. I mean, so that makes it very difficult for a large or a small contractor to put their necks out on something like that. I think there has to be a real openness too about like how much money is there, how long is the program available, because we can't go out and offer this blindly, and I think what you can see is there's not a lot of publicity and interaction, or how often are folks going to be able to go back and check on the status of the program? Hey, is that pot of money still there? So that there has to be a real openness to anybody that's there of this is stable, till here. Because the other thing is, I would use this in selling as a way to create urgency, but then all of a sudden if it's extended, then my client's going to come back and go, what did you create that urgency for?
So you use it on that side if it was running out.
Right.
What if you sold it and didn't know it was running out?
And depending on the contract, see, that's a major problem. I mean, we're betting on the stability of it. So I think it's good interface for us, but a portal to be able to show the consumer too. Hey, here's a link. You can see the vibe. Here's where we're getting our real time information, because it's always a buyer beware market. And people are always wondering, are they making a sell job on me? If actually money is running out, here, check it out for yourself. This is where we're going. And make it easy for these clients. We're very, very conservative, I guess.
Okay.
When we put something out there, we might figure it at this, and then we put a discount rate at it, or a lot of footnotes, just because everything in all of these guys' business, it's all relationships. That's the thing that drives these businesses.
So knowing what's out there.
They have to view us as a trusted advisor if we're going to go do that, and we can't have the rug taken out from underneath us, or we've lost that credibility ourselves.
I know about it. No, they did have it, and
Yeah.
then it kind of tapered off, like what he said. And we
I found some money and started back up for like 6 or 7 months this year.
As far as the customers are concerned, it probably runs out too quick, but I mean,
What do you mean runs out too quick?
the money's gone now.
Now, this last program, they came up with funds that
Yeah.
they discovered or whatever, they didn't spend.
Yeah,
So they had cut it off,
yeah,
and they sent out an email to all the PPN members saying, hey, this January the 5th, we're gonna open this back up for industrial customers.
mm-hmm,
And well, you gotta apply, you gotta, and there's audits we gotta perform before we're ready to.
You
Yeah.
talk about these programs cut off. Does TVA relay to you, or are they going to go ahead and ramp this program up, or is it just going to limp along like it is?
There's
You know, it's
not-
going to be worth it for me to get into this or not?
Mhm.
Well, right now, I mean, probably, Archie, you heard anything? I mean, what I've heard, no, they won't say anything, and
Yeah.
they've not been told anything.
You never know till the next budget,
Yeah.
till their next budget.
Next fiscal
Way too much work. Then the people we had some people that done that. We had people calling in. I was actually in Atlanta when it went down, and I had somebody else drive me home, and I worked on a laptop from Atlanta to Knoxville.
Just to get the applications
Just to get
in.
them.
Yeah.
And then some of the people dried up on me.
Yeah.
We worked 24 hours roughly, and then they got the money, and they says, "Well, we really didn't. We really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Money's not done."
got it.
So, no, I don't really panic mode again. I'm not a panic mode person.